Welcome. Good to see you all. Good morning. Bright and early. And this is where are we today? Sorry about this. I'm a little bit of absent-minded and distracted, but here I am with you now. Welcome to Epic Real Estate Investing Show. This is where we show people how to invest in real estate with an emphasis on retiring early, escaping the daily grind before you before you hit that ripe old age of that 65. Let's retire while we're still young enough to enjoy it. And there's a million ways to make $1 million in real estate, and you just need to pick one. And so today we're going to talk about one of those ways, investing in land. We don't talk about that too much here. I've done a little bit myself. I've been very successful with it. Why I stopped doing it, I don't know. So maybe I can get down to the bottom of that today with our guest. But our guest is running late, I guess. I haven't heard anything from him. So I just thought I'd spend some time here with you. If you have any questions, feel free. I'll give you a little bit of announcement here. The epicrealestate.com website is brand new. And yeah, so what? You got a new website. That's not what I want to draw your attention to. Up here in the calendar section. So we're going to pack this with events in 2023. We've already started. The calendar is going to load a little bit slow just because we have so much stuff in there. So I'm thinking we have to kind of pull some of the stuff back and not plan out so early, at least on this calendar. But it'll load up, and each event will have a clickable link, and it'll tell you what there is needed for you to do to participate. My intention is to deliver as much free and accessible information as possible. So here we are on December 1st. Isn't that amazing? So yesterday we had our Wednesday web class, the Billionaire Tax Strategies. The IRS doesn't want you to know. And it was a great turnout. And it was really awesome. And so we're going to get back to our Wednesday web classes. I don't know how many more we're going to get here in the end of December, but we will be launching those for 2023. And you can find all of those here. And then also for all of my REI ACE clients, my students, they have access and they know exactly when their coaching calls are happening. So these follow-through crew calls, I've been running this for 8 years now. I haven't missed, I don't know, maybe 5 or 6 times in 8 years on every single Thursday. So they have access to those, and that's how they get their information there. And then we have our Your First Deal support. That's on Monday night, so everyone can find that really easily. And then we have a launch summit. So this is something when our REI ACE students come in for the first time, they spend 2 days with us, and we launch their business. And we literally launch their first marketing campaign right on the spot. And we've done that the last couple events, and it's worked out pretty well. And then by the time they get home, their phone is ringing, they've got opportunities. And then this weekend, we have the Epic Freedom Experience. So this is a free event. It's a 2-day virtual event. If you'd like to attend, feel free. This will be the last one of the year. And that's where we'll be discussing the real estate opportunity that really nobody is talking about. And I think it's bigger than most people think. And a lot of people are focused on the doom and gloom. And it's really funny how people, when the market is booming and the prices are high, people are waiting. I'm going to wait till the prices come down. I'm going to wait till the prices get cheaper. And then the prices start to shift and they start to soften like they are right now. And everyone's like, well, I don't know if this is a good time. Is it going to bounce back? When is it going to bounce back? The one thing you can count on real estate, it's always going to come down and it's always going to go back up. And every single time it's gone back up, it's gone up to a new high. And I don't see any reason that's going to change this time. There's monetary policy in place that's kind of, I would say, inaccurately, not inaccurately. What's the word I'm looking for? It's suppressing demand artificially. It's artificially suppressing the demand just because of monetary policy. But the demand is still there. We got more people than we got houses. And this is a very different situation than we had back in 2008, where we had more houses than people. And that's why we had a housing crash. Don't have the precondition for that. When don't have enough houses and you got too many people, that's not a precondition for a crash. The only big variable is the monetary policy, the interest rates. What are those going to do? And as of just yesterday, Jerome Powell came out and said that he sees inflation softening a little bit. He sees himself not getting too aggressive. So hopefully, I mean, if you looked at the stock market yesterday, everyone kind of interpreted that as, hey, maybe this is the beginning of the end of these massive rates. So you want to start looking at these opportunities. And let's see, is my guest here yet? Not here yet. Okay. If you have any questions, feel free to fire away. And I found something else here. Actually, let me take this off up there. Will that work if I do that? Yes. Okay, cool. So let's come over here. But we're still seeing lots of stories, a lot of doom and gloom stories in the news, right? I always think it's funny when Goldman Sachs and Forbes magazine are all commenting on the housing market when they're such stock market people. Certainly they're smarter than me. They have a wider breadth of knowledge when it comes to economics. But I take those with a grain of salt because we've come to learn that the stock market being rigged, and it certainly is. That's not a conspiracy. It absolutely is. And wrote a whole book on it. If you'd like to get a copy of that book, you can go to epicfreedombook.com. But anyway, that's all. I'm always curious. So it says housing market has further to fall as buyers walk away and sellers scramble for profit. So there's a reason sellers have had such a huge advantage over buyers over the past years. That's obvious. The real estate market lacked inventory in a very big way, obvious. Meanwhile, the supply of available homes began to dwindle at a time when mortgage rates began falling to record lows. That sparked this huge gap, right? That's what caused the big giant rush. Everyone thinks it was like because of COVID or something. We haven't built enough houses in the last 10 years. And I guess indirectly it could have been because of COVID, because we dropped the interest rate so low to keep the economy going. Could have been a better idea to keep businesses open to keep the economy going, but they decided to close businesses and then lower interest rates to offset that. And it created it created an issue, right? It created these booming housing prices where the affordability just went out of range for so many people. So let's see, sellers have still enjoyed their fair share of gains this year, but home price gains are clearly slowing. And that's key. People say the housing prices are dropping, right? Well, the housing prices of properties that have not sold yet, that are sitting on the market, yes, those are coming down. But if you look at the houses that are actually selling, they're still selling for more. We're still appreciating. We've pulled back a little bit on the national median price point, but the stuff that's selling is still selling. And when they say the home prices, but home price gains are clearly slowing. The gains are slowing. You got to read what they're actually saying to us, right? The gains are slowing, but they're still gains. So in August, for example, home prices rose 13% on a year-over-year basis, according to the S&P Shiller, the Case-Shiller Index. Okay, but that's a slower pace than what sellers enjoyed in months prior, but it still rose 13%. If you go back historically since 1960, since they started keeping track of it, the average annual appreciation rate is 3.5% to 5%, depending on which resource you refer to. But we did 13%. That's still three times. And they're talking about that being a bad thing, right? What happened to we got all the commercials coming out now. Guess they didn't want us to read it that long. Or did I just hit the wrong button? All right, there we go. So meanwhile, let's see. Investment banking giant Goldman Sachs recently issued a warning about the housing market, specifically expects timely warning. They're not necessarily the first ones to warn, right? So should sellers be worried? Goldman Sachs expects home price gains to stall completely and average 0% in 2023. That's not the best of news, as it could mean that sellers will end up walking away with a lot less money in the coming year. Okay, so 0%. But is that a crash because of growth slowed to 0%? Not by any means. And why such a gloomy outlook? So it has to do with the laws of supply and demand. The whole reason home prices soared in 2020, 2021 is that real estate market didn't have enough inventory to meet buyer demand. Right now, inventory is still down compared to normal levels, but as more and more buyers drop out of the market due to factors such as rising mortgage rates and recession fears, the gap between supply and demand is apt to narrow. And once buyer demand wanes enough to allow for an adequate supply of listed homes, sellers will lose much of the edge they've enjoyed over the 2 years. All right, so this is what I mean. This is a stock market guy talking about the real estate. So he says, why it has to do with the law of supply and demand. That's why the gloomy outlook. Well, as I started this, I hadn't even read this article yet. I just kind of picked one randomly while we wait for our guest. See if he's here yet. Oh, he's there. I'll be with you in just a second. All right, let me finish my thought here. The law of supply and demand. The demand is being suppressed artificially because of the affordability and the monetary policy. But he's not talking about that. He's talking about just between the people and the houses. But we are, even if, and I've talked about this ad nauseum over the last 2 years, even if, say, we had this tsunami of foreclosures and all these people all these houses came on, it wouldn't be enough to meet the population demand. Like, for example, this is what I love this stat right here, this little graph. Let's see if I can find it. A generation or population, here we go. Population per age group. I think that's what it is. If I can take me the right thing here. Let's see if I can find that one piece, that one graph. Here it is. This one. Okay. So you can see this. What does this take me if I click on that? There it is. Okay, so I'm gonna blow that up for you a little bit. So we look at this. Okay, so right here, this is as of December 15th. There's a newer one from 2020, but you can still see it. You see this big bubble in the millennials, right? So right here, that was, if we look at this peak here, is a 2015. That's probably about between 16 and 34 years old. That's probably about 27, 26 years old right here. And right over here, when you hit 34, this is the average age of the first-time home buyer. And so you see this big giant wave approaching the average age of the first-time home buyer, and this wave doesn't get really any smaller behind here. So if you go back then for the next 16 to 20 years, there's enough demand already walking the earth to fuel the supply. And once this little bubble, so this was 5 years ago, so here we are 7 years later. So we're probably right about here. This peak is right about here. So we are just a couple years away from this giant bubble here meeting a huge deficiency in housing. And that's, if you can control the inventory, if you can control, put houses and get control of them, whether you got control of them with a lease option, you don't even own it, but you got control of it, or you have got seller financing, you're controlling them with a contract for a deed, however it may be, as long as you're controlling them, you've got enough demand here to drive rents and drive prices for the good 10, 15 years coming. We're too deficient in the housing. We've had a whole decade where we did not build enough, and now we're trying to catch up. But we're, like I said, they'd have to maintain record pace for the next 10 years to even out this market. All right, so be really, really careful. So I think this is the best time in real estate, especially, or best time to get in real estate, probably in the last 3 or 4 years, because sellers are starting to read this doom and gloom stuff. You're buyers. You understand how this works. You're buyers and you're sellers, and you know you're much more educated than the general population. And that general population out there is getting concerned. They're getting scared. They're looking at the housing market. They're looking at inflation. They're looking at global economics. They're looking at wars. They're looking at all this different types of stuff, and they're freaking out. And it's unfortunate. And I think the media is doing a huge disservice to our public. But it is what it is, right? So they're going to sell their house to somebody. So once you learn how to do this and position yourself to help these people that are in distress, whether it's financial distress or personal distress, or the house itself is in distress, they're going to sell to you. They need to sell fast. They need some sort of financial relief because they got bigger fish to fry, and the world is beating them up right now. And a lot of people are going to be turning to their houses as a source of that financial relief. Alrighty. So just wanted to cover that, and just be careful what you put in your mind, and don't let it discourage you or sidetrack you from your own real estate investing efforts. Okay. Let's see. Spirit Detective. I had a commercial broker today show me. Oh, let me put this on here. I had a commercial broker today show me 2020, 2021 prices to try to sell me on getting in a new investment now. LOL. Well, why is that funny? What's wrong with that? Right? The price of a property isn't really the important part. It's how you're going to make money from it is what's so important, right? So if you could pay top dollar for a house today, and you could flip it in 6 months for more than what you paid for it, then that would be a good deal, even if you paid retail for it. If you paid over retail, which I have done this before, I've paid over retail, but just because the rents were so good, the income was so good, so I had no problem overpaying for it because it still paid me a cash flow. It still gave me a nice return, right? So you got to be really careful taking on this mainstream media and dismissing it and thinking like, oh, what happened in 2008 is going to happen all over again. It might. I don't have a crystal ball, but what caused it in 2008, those conditions do not exist today. So if it does crash, it's going to be for an entirely different reason, not just because it did before. Okay, so just be really, really careful. But thanks for sharing that. Rick C. Keep in mind the illegals need to live somewhere too. Immigration is at an all-time high, and it's projected. I've got a stat for that too. I didn't come prepared for it, but you're absolutely right, Rick. We have more people that have been born in through the millennials and Generation Z. These are some of our biggest generations we've ever seen, the millennials for sure. We need that. And right now it's 1.1 million people immigrant, whether they're legal or illegal, 1.1 million immigrants coming in per year right now. And it's projected to grow over the next 6 years. And that's not some blog post. That's not some news organization. That is the actual Census Bureau. I'm not going to look it up right now, but it's there. Let's see. Spirit says, we'll get started here in just a sec. I don't think it'll be a major crash, but probably at least a dip in the next few months. Yeah, I think it's going to soften. Absolutely, it's going to soften. But this is the time to buy. This is the time to get in on it while it's softening. That's why I kind of started this whole session out. It's funny how many people, when the prices are really high, they're like, I'm going to wait till they come back lower. I want to wait till it softens, and I want to wait till there's a correction. I want to wait till there's a crash. And then it starts to correct. It starts to soften. And they're like, well, I don't know if this is a good time. I'm going to wait till the market comes back. So which one is it, right? This is a great opportunity. You see the balance of supply and demand here. Even if you lost for a year, even if you were behind a little bit, maybe you overpaid, oops. But look what you got ahead of you for the next 5, 10, 15 years. Imagine if you bought houses 5, 10, 15 years ago, where would you be today? Well, there's a bigger movement coming over the next 10 to 15 years than happened the last 10, 15 years. All right. So sweet. Awesome. Right. And I'm not trying to change anyone's mind. I'm just sharing you with the data, right? I've got, like I said, that we had this pandemic thing, which was a total black swan and threw a monkey wrench in the whole system, right? Who knows, that something like that could happen again, something that we don't foresee. But the data that we have available to us and the best economic indicators that we have available to us, the best housing indicators we have available to us, everything's pointing to up. The only thing you got to watch is, what is the Fed going to do with them interest rates? How is that going to impact affordability? All right, cool. I'm going to get off my soapbox because I love that soapbox. I'm on it all the time. And I'm here to fight the negative information out there, the misinformation, the real misinformation, not opinions. I just look at the data. Okay, so today's guest, we're going to talk about, I said there's a million ways to make $1 million in real estate. You just got to pick one. And we're going to talk about land today. So without further ado, we're about 22 minutes behind, but we'll just jump on it and see what happens. Mr. Ray Zhang, welcome.
Yeah, I love it, Mac, and love what you share. Is you talk fast. I love it.
I knew you were waiting, and I knew we were off topic, but there's so much great stuff to share, and I could talk about it endlessly. Yeah. But cool, thank you for being patient and allowing me to get that in. So Ray, we have never met. And Zhang, is that how you say your last name?
Zhang. Either way. Yeah.
Okay, Zhang. I want to say it right. Okay, Zhang. Ray Zhang. So we have a mutual friend, I guess. That's how we met. This is why you're on here today. Who is that? Do you remember?
I think I belong to a mastermind called The Family, and
Family Reunion. Okay, yes.
Yeah.
Okay, very good. Yeah. So Matt Andrews might have put you in touch with me, maybe.
Yeah, definitely.
Okay, good. I saw a picture of you online. It's actually where I got the picture for the thumbnail with Mr. Joe McCall. Did you learn to invest in land from Joe?
No. Joe has been a big influence in my real estate journey, but I learned it from a guy that not really a coach, but he's a military, still active, and he shared that with me. I implemented it, and it has a phenomenal result this year. So
that's awesome. So how long have you been investing in land?
About 4 years this year, and the past 3 years, not, it's okay, but this year has been very well.
Good. I want to talk about that. But what were you doing just before you were investing in land?
I was one of the immigrants. I came to the country about 10 years ago, and I was homeless at one point and living in the car for a couple of months. And then I started to flip cars because there's a demand for a house. Of course, they have to drive to the house, right? So I bought and sold a lot of cars. And then as some saving, I had a place to live, and I started to, doing real estate, but I never had any success for 6 years. I spent at least $150,000 on coaching and programs, but it didn't work out for me for about 6 years until I found land.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Good. So if you looked at those 6 years, you had coaching, you made a sizable investment, which I commend you for, because I think that's a great investment, is to invest in yourself. What was missing? What was broken that you think why it wasn't working for you?
I was living in Hawaii, and I tried wholesaling, and that was very hard. And then I said, okay, I'm done with this. I'm going to try virtual wholesaling, which is even harder. And then it didn't work out. I said, okay, I'm going to try cold calling, virtual wholesaling. And that's three impossible combined together. So that's even make it very, very hard, right? And
so there are people who wholesale property in Hawaii. I've got many students that wholesale virtually. The cold calling we know works. A lot of people will give credit to cold calling to getting their deals done. So what do you think it was that you were doing that that they're doing that you weren't doing in
Uh,
hindsight?
I think it just because the way that in Hawaii works is you typically don't get a deal, and then when you get a deal, the deal is very big. So
Mhm,
that really, if you are new, that you don't have the confidence to, keep mailing. So I think that was my problem, and
mhm,
also, um, as a business owner, we know that we are always have this shiny object, right? And
mhm,
there's always a better way to make money, and
mhm.
that shiny object always better and make more money and faster, right? So
Right.
you guys sidetracked it, I guess.
Hmm. Got it. Okay. Well, super. Yeah. People ask me what's the best way to invest in real estate, and I'm just like, the one that you'll actually do and the one that actually works for you. So you found land, and that was a big pivotal moment. So how did you make this transition? What caused you to go ahead and look at land?
Because land in general is easier than houses, and I tell people
How
if you
did you know
can.
that in the beginning? Like when you're making this
um,
transition?
I just thought, what's on the land, right? You don't put a toilet on the land, right? There's nothing on top of it, and there's only dirt, and so I basically just flip dirt, right? I can do it virtually anywhere, and I can do it from anywhere. So I was in Hawaii. I started to do land deals in Colorado,
Mm-hmm,
and all those land has nothing on top of it. I just simply going down to negotiation with the sellers and the buyers,
mm-hmm.
and I did 150 deals in my first year, and
Congrats.
yeah, that was all small deals. I bought it for $1,000 and sold it for 2,500, right? So
Mm-hmm.
that works out.
Super. All right, so let's go. I want to bring you all the way up to present to what you're doing today, because I know you've had a really remarkable year, and you've made a lot of money. But let's go back to that beginning point where you're buying land for $1,000, flipping it for 2,500. Where do you find land for $1,000?
So there, I teach my students you can do deals with any type of budget, right? There's land for like couple hundred even. In Colorado, I did the first couple 150 deals in Colorado. There's in the middle of nowhere, right in the desert.
Okay.
They sell them for 3,000. Right now it's appreciated a little bit more, 6,000. But
Hmm.
then everybody was selling for 3 grand, and I just approached to the landowners. I tried to buy their land for $1,000, and a lot of people just signed the offer letter, and I hit a jackpot. This guy owned 150 lots. He owned actually 200 something lots in the same subdivision. So I bought 150 of them, and I sold every piece of it.
Nice. That is a
Yeah.
jackpot. Once you come across one of those sellers that owns a bunch of stuff, and here, do you want it all? Because we've
Yeah.
experienced that a few times in the last couple of years, where you're calling on one house, and all of a sudden he says, "Well, I've got 30 houses, and I'm looking to retire. Do you want them all?" Right. So when you find that, that's good. All right. So
Yeah.
when you're flipping land, does it work like flipping a house? Do you have to did you have to buy it for $1,000 and then resell it for 25, or could you do like the double close thing?
You can definitely do that, but what I did is I buy it in package. So every package is 10 properties. So I just use an initial investment for 10,000, and I roll it up to all the way to 250,000. So that's how I did it. But for sure, you can do the assignment thing. Try to do wholesaling land, but it will take longer, I guess,
Okay,
because you have to try to find the buyers.
got it. Because can you find buyers like as quickly as you can for a house? Or does it take a longer time? What would you say is the average time for you to find a buyer?
It's pretty easy. You just go to Zillow or Redfin and search only land, and
Hmm.
just see who bought the land. And if that's a realtor sold the land, you can contact the realtor and tell. The conversation will go like, "Hey, Mr. Realtor, my name's Ray. I have a land here in the same subdivision, and I saw that you sold something there.
Hmm.
And you must have some cash buyers, right? Do you mind if I send it to him?"
Got it.
Right? So easy.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, it is very easy. All right. So I was just thinking, I was thinking out loud that you buy a piece of property, in Colorado out in the middle of nowhere for $1,000, that would have to be a very specific buyer that you're looking for that would want that, right?
Correct. That's So I actually joined this group and I paid 70,000 coaching program for that. And then what they teach is you buy a land for $1,000 and they sell on terms. And for 7,000, and every month you get $150
Yeah.
for cash flow. And I tried that. I have to post ad on Facebook, everything, and that wasn't really good for me. I mean, it's not for me. Actually, I'm a very impatient guy. I want money like right now, right?
Hmm.
I don't want a cash flow. And all the people who message you on Facebook, they will say, "Is this available?" And they're gone. I don't know where they are, but after that message, they're gone. So
Hmm.
I was like, "This is not for me." But I was looking. There are so many people doing that, the term investors. So I was thinking, can I sell it to them and
Hmm.
save them a lot of direct mail money,
Hmm.
right? So what I
Right.
did was I mailed to the entire county, and the postcard goes like this: I'll buy your land and for cash, and I only mail it to people who own more than 5 land
Hmm.
in the same area. So that's how I hit that jackpot. This guy owned 150 lots, and I bring that 150 lots directly to those land terms investors, and I sold the whole thing to them in 4 months. And this
Got
is
it.
like, I still remember those days. I think that was the happiest day in my life, even though I make more money there right now. But every day you sell at least 5 lots. You know that feeling, right?
Right. So you essentially you bought it for 1,000. You gave him 3,000 or you sold it for 3,000 cash, and then the terms guy went and sold it for 7 on terms.
Correct.
Right. Okay, I got it.
Yeah.
So everybody wins. Super.
Yeah.
Even the buyer wins at $100 a month, and he gets to own this piece of property. So that's fantastic. Cool. All
Okay.
right. So let's kind of fast forward a little bit or edge forward a little bit. How do you pick your territory? I mean, the United States, big area,
Mhm.
and not there's more vacant land than there are houses. So how do you pick a good spot?
So we have 3 ways to pick. They're all very cheap, basically free. So there is 3 ways. The first way is Zillow, Redfin, and ListSource. So ListSource is a list company.
Hmm.
Uh, you just have to register accounts. You don't have to buy a list, and we can find that ideal market though for free. So first of all, we go to Zillow or Redfin, and you choose a super major market like Austin, right, or Houston. So those major markets that are growing, that are getting more people, like the job growth is awesome and people are moving in instead of moving out. I wouldn't do business around New York, right? So people are moving in, like those major markets, and you look at Zillow, and you see we're sold land the most around that city, not in the city. I don't do deals inside those major cities because it's very competitive. A lot of land has been sold, but I do somewhere around 30 to 1.5 hours from
Hmm.
that city. So,
Okay.
and then you zoom out, you see where those sold land in Zillow is a yellow dots, right? You see where those yellow dots concentrates, and that's the
Hmm.
area we want to go into.
Got it. Okay, so that's what I've always heard, and I've purchased some land too, and I took Jack Bosch's course, and
Right.
you know, I,
Yeah.
it was crazy. I did one mailing, I did one deal, and then I never did it again. So I don't know why I stopped, but Joe has got me excited again about land, and I just started teaching my son how to do it. So he's out sending letters and stuff like that. So we're doing it again. So that's
Awesome.
kind of common. You find the major metropolitan, and you go a half hour to hour and a half in the perimeter of the city, right?
Correct. Yeah.
Perfect. I was
Yeah.
curious, you said list source. Did you learn that one from Joe McCall on how to reverse engineer and find the buyers?
I forgot who I learned it from, but it could be him. That was
Yeah, I
years
think Joe was
ago.
the
Yeah.
first one, and then
Yeah.
everybody's like, Joe, that was genius. And I think everybody started doing it. But
Joe
yeah,
is, yeah, he's very technical and with the
yeah,
spreadsheet, everything.
he
Right.
always he finds the hacks of every single website.
Yeah.
Right? Very
Yeah.
good. All right. So how many markets are you investing in now?
I would say at least about 40,
Okay,
40 different counties in about 8 or 7 different states.
got
Yeah.
it. And what does marketing look like for 40 different markets?
I try to mail at least 20,000 mailers a
Mhm.
month. Right now is the time, like you said, now is the time to push the gas instead of the brake.
Right.
But but most investors are, not most, but some investors are afraid right now. They said, okay, I'm not certain what's going on. Maybe I'll
Yep.
stop. But that's not the time to take a break.
Mm-mm. No,
Yeah.
I totally agree, and it's really hard to convey that to people, or and without them thinking you have some sort of ulterior motive. But when the prices were up, you're all like waiting for them to come down, and then they come down, and you're like, "Well, I'm going to wait for it to go back up." It's like it's kind of funny.
Yeah.
But all right, so 20,000 mailers. That's per market, or is that total
Per month.
per
Yeah.
month? But is that per market or 20,000
Oh,
total?
total.
Okay.
Yeah, yeah,
And
yeah.
then what are you sending? Are you sending postcards or letters? Are you sending the contracts? What's your best marketing strategy?
I send a purchase agreement. We also call that contract, but we never mention that word to the sellers. It's
Got
a
it.
purchase agreement and with an offer price. And as far as how do we know the offer price, me and Joe McCall, we did a interview, the
Mhm,
podcast, and maybe someone who are interested, you can watch that. And we go deep, really deep on how
mhm.
I did it. Yeah,
Okay. So you're sending out um, signed purchase agreements with the price on it already, right?
correct. Yeah.
So those deals that you do, what does that typical response look like? Is that a phone call? Do they just mail the contract back, or how does that work?
I have 4 ways to contact me in the letter. So the first way you can call me, and the second is there's an email there, and the third is I have a fax number. So a lot of old folks they love that, and I got
Mhm.
deals from fax number. And the last way is they sign that and they mail it back to me.
Right. So
Yeah,
how many deals have you done where the contract just came back and you never even talked to the seller?
yeah. I talk to them every one of them because I have
Mhm.
another layer of safety built up in the system, which is negotiation. So no matter they sign the contract or they call me, I always negotiate on top of that offer letter,
Got it.
offer price. For
Mhm.
example, I just got a deal last week or 2 days ago, 2 weeks ago. I sent the offer for 13,000 and the land worth about 26. And I renegotiate. After 30 minutes, we bought it for 1,000 bucks.
Get out
So
of
serious,
here.
yeah.
What is
So
that? What does that look like? Well, how do you justify such a drop in price?
when you talk to people, you kind of sense what they want, right? And you can sense their motivation. And
Mhm.
like you said, there are people who are desperate for money, and in this case, he just don't want it because land is different than houses. House, you have a lot of emotion attached to their house. They love
Yep.
their house. There's memories that maybe the kids growing up. But how about land, right? Did your kid grow
Mhm.
up on land? No. So they
Mhm.
don't like their land, and secondly, sometimes they hate it because the city build them and they try to give them a high grass fee and new
Right.
season lien or whatever. So I had people gave me two land for free this year, and they sold them all for like 20 grand.
Mhm.
So they don't like it, and the conversation when I talk to them, you can kind of sense that, and
Mhm.
we negotiate on top of that.
Sweet. All right. So as I was doing some research on you and looking around, you've been interviewed by several people and a lot of my friends. But I saw you did $800,000 was the big number. So
Yeah.
tell me what that number is. Can you give me some details about that number?
So this year, I think is a more close to 100 something more deals, and so what we do is we find an area that the nearby the growing cities, and we offer 40 cents on the dollar, and then when the offer comes back, we renegotiate, and after we get the deal, sold it to me, and I'll put it back to the MLS with a realtor. So we try to
Mhm.
get the maximum for the deal profit.
Hmm.
Yeah.
So so $800,000. I kept seeing that number on your interviews as part of the headline. Is that
Mm.
was that a year? Has that been total over the last 4 years?
Yeah, this year the net
Okay.
profit.
Okay.
Yeah,
That's net profit was 800,000.
correct.
Fantastic. Yeah, Rick has a big wow for you, and I agree. So that's awesome. So how many people in your operation? Is it just you, or do you have a team working with you?
Yeah, I have a very big operation. I have one guy, and that's all I have. And actually, I'm shameful to say this. I pay him $2 an hour. He's out of in the Indian side, I guess.
Huh?
He works for me. That's it. That's all the team look like.
All right. You gonna give him a Christmas bonus this year?
I should. I should.
You should. You
Yeah.
find good people, you got to take care of them.
Yeah.
All
Yeah.
right.
Definitely.
That's
Yeah.
super. All right. So do you do just straight flipping, or do you do any seller finance stuff? Do you sell anything on terms?
I guess just those years of seller financing or the term sale gave me some kind of bad memory, so I don't want to do any of that. Yeah,
Got it.
just yeah.
So the question came from Rick. He's wondering, oh, the thing just switched on here.
Well,
There we go. There we
yeah.
go. So how do you manage your notes? Was that part of the bad taste in your mouth that it left, or how do most people manage their notes? Do you know?
You mean term sale?
Yeah, I think that's what he's asking. Yeah,
Yeah,
he's
I
making.
don't. Yeah, I don't do any term sale though. So there are people teaching that. I think it's a great strategy if you have patience. So for me, no. So
Got it. Very
yeah.
good. Yeah, no, I would imagine, Rick, that it's done the same way that we do it with houses. We just use a third party note servicer, and then we just have somebody else, and they take 1%, and they'll do all the collections and all that kind of stuff if people fall behind. So that's how we've done it in the past. Let's see. Here's a question. Rick is interested. You've piqued his interest. Are small deals better than large deals? Which ones do you like to do?
Yes, I got this question quite a bit from the students, and what I tell them is, have you heard about the saying that bigger deals take the same amount of time than small deals? That's partially true, but not really, because the bigger deals take less time than the smaller deals.
Mm,
Because when you do bigger deals, such as you buy a land for, let's say, 30 grand, and that land worth about 60, you have a lot of people coming to work for you at that point. The title company will be involved. They are super active to close your deal, and the realtor come in for their commission. They were eager to sell your land, right? And
mhm,
for smaller deals, on the buying side, you have to close yourself. You have to prepare the deed yourself, and then on the selling side, you have to post it all over the place. And when people come in, you have to take the calls. It's very complicated. So the bigger deals is what I'm after. And as far as what's the number is bigger deals or small deals, right? So I try to stay above land worth at least 15,000.
okay,
Yeah.
got it. Very good. All right. So what's next for you? Just more of the same, or do you have ambitions to do something bigger?
Yeah, of course. I came from that point of confusion and didn't know what to do. Right now, I'm doing a little bit of coaching and I have about 20 students right now.
Hmm.
So, I just really try to help. I mean, I was there and I know how I feel like, and just I guess I would be more focusing on coaching next year. But I still have to run my land business myself because,
Got it.
like you said, yeah, this is the best time to buy, right?
Yeah. What's your attraction to coaching?
What's my attraction?
Yeah. Why coaching? Well, if you did $800,000
Oh,
of net
okay.
profit and
Okay. Yeah, I guess just the helping part, I guess, and I heard very wise man said this. I forgot who said it. Someone in China. He said the best way to learn is to teach. I
hmm.
was like, the best way to learn is not read a book, right?
Yeah.
But he said the best way to learn is to teach. And after I started to coach, I find that it's true. I mean, when I start to teach, all the process has been super clear to me. That's the
Hmm.
first benefit for me. And secondly, my student tell me a market, and then I'll look into that market. Sometimes I go into that market with them. I got some deals from there, right?
Hmm. Hmm.
So it's really beneficial, I guess, for both of us.
Right, right. I've actually, it's funny that you said that. I thought you were going to say something else, but no, I would say that the best way to learn something is to teach it right after you learned it. And that's like
Right?
really emphasizes the retention, right? And
Yeah.
I've become a far better real estate investor since I've been a coach. And I do a lot of my phone calls for my students now. And I'll close the deals for them after they've set them up. And I've just become so much better on the phone. And I'm just like, oh my gosh, I would have never done this to that degree have I just stayed on my own. So good. Well, congrats. I'm glad good people like you are out there to share your information. So I'm going to put you on the spot. Why would I want to go and work with you and not Joe McCall or Jack Bosch?
Oh, I guess my method is super simple, down to the road. I mean, super easy. I mean, it's not that the land is super easy. It's because I have done so many deals that I compress all I have learned to very simple steps. I cut
Hmm.
out all the BS and all the things that no need, right? I never teach knowledge to my students. There's If you want to read, you go ahead and go to YouTube, right? I
Hmm.
teach only action steps, you get results. That's it.
Right.
Yeah.
That's good. I like that answer. I thought you were gonna crumble, but you did perfect. It's super. No, I mean, there's so many people that out there teaching all these different strategies, and there's probably 10 gurus for every single strategy out there. And you just pick the one that you resonate with, and pick one and stick with it, and follow the plan, and you're gonna do just fine. We know real estate works. And we know all the gurus have a proven track record, and they got students that have proven their track record or proven their system. So just pick one. So if you like simple and not learning and just doing what works and making money, then Ray's your guy. I would imagine virtual flip land is that a .com?
Not yet. It's my Instagram. So
That's your Instagram. Okay, got it.
yeah,
So that's how they can get in touch with you.
100%. Yes.
Perfect, perfect. All right, so I got another question here, and then we'll go ahead and we'll wrap this up. But here's a question from Miss Rosie. Says, I guess there's no due diligence period. We usually use that time to find our end buyer. Little bit of a wide open question there, but what does the due diligence look like on land?
So first of all, when area lead comes in, we want to check if that land is a wetland, right? There are only very little things wrong with the land. Wetland is one of them, right? And then if the land has a drainage crossing the land, if the land is covered with trees, if the land has power nearby, right? If the land is out of nowhere with not any houses nearby, the price will be very different than those infill lots, right? And
Mm-hmm.
want to see if there's water nearby, right?
Mm-hmm.
So that's probably the due diligence, and I could even send realtors to look at the land before I buy them to
Mm-hmm.
make sure that, because I do it nationally, do it virtually, I cannot go to any, and I never seen any land I bought,
Right.
and so I have to send someone there to look at it. I guess that's a due diligence period.
Right. For sure. Yeah. Well, you
Yeah,
certainly don't have to check the electricity or the plumbing, right? Very good. Well, Ray,
of
it's been
course.
a pleasure meeting you, and let's stay in touch. Congratulations on your success. And if you would like to get in touch with Ray, you can go to Virtual Flip Land. That's his handle on Instagram. And I imagine they just DM you?
Of course, anytime.
All right.
Yeah,
Super sophisticated. So I'd imagine that if that's how you get in touch with him, his land process works very simply the same. And that's why you want to go and talk to Ray. All right,
thank you,
partner.
man.
It was nice meeting you. And like I said, we'll stay in touch and we'll do this again. Let's check in next year and see where you're at.
For sure, man.
All right. Take care.
You too.
All righty. So that's it for today. If you liked what you heard, you liked what you saw, go ahead and hit the like button, hit the subscribe button. If somebody else is out there that you think would find this entertaining and, that the name comes to mind, please share it with them. We'll take great care of them over here. And y'all have a great week. All right. Moving into the holidays, December 1st, my favorite time of the year. All right. Peace, blessings, health, success to you.